Seahawks win 34-14, and they improve to 4-3 on the season. And we shall go over the scoring plays. Jason Myers, a 38-yard field goal, gets the Seahawks on the board and opens the scoring with 10:05 left to make it 3-0. That's the only scoring play of the first quarter. Second quarter, we get a little more offense. Kenneth Walker, a 20-yard touchdown run that makes it 10-0. A little bit later, Bijan Robinson, a 5-yard touchdown run to make it 10-7. But just before the half, DK Metcalf, a 31-yard connection from Geno Smith, makes it 17-7 at the half. Third quarter, Falcons get on the board first in the second half anyway. Drake London, a 5-yard connection with Kirk Cousins, 17-14. But Kenneth Walker makes a spectacular catch, a 17-yard touchdown, 24-14 at the end of three. In the fourth quarter, Derek Hall, stumbling after a fumble caused by Boye Mafe. That makes it 31-14. And then Jason Myers connects from 59 yards out. Was shocked that they kicked that field goal. Worked out great. 34-14. Seahawks win. Before we get into the positives and negatives, I want to thank Simply Seattle for providing the very best in Seattle sports gear. And also thank you for supporting them. And by supporting me, by using code MOLLYWOP15, MOLLYWHOP15. It takes 15% off your order. You can get it for the Seahawks, the Huskies, the Cougars, the Storm, the Sounders, Mariners. You can find all of that great stuff at simplyseattle.com, MOLLYWHOP15. Awesome deal from awesome people. Link in the description. But again, simplyseattle.com and MOLLY. Did I do too many L's there? MOLLYWHOP15. It's been a long day. Helped by the Seahawks game, but it's been a long day, and it's not over. I work until 9 o'clock tonight. The biggest negative from this game is, goodness gracious, here's hoping DK Metcalf is okay. I have not seen any reports, but anytime you see your best playmaker carted off the field, bad. Very, very bad. So here's hoping he's okay. While I do like the Seahawks depth at wide receiver, losing a guy like DK Metcalf is tough to overcome. So here's hoping that's okay. Negatives not involving injury. This run defense stinks. And I really thank the Falcons for not running the football more. Like, I get that they, fell behind, but one of the reasons they fell behind was because they didn't run the ball enough. Like Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, they could have had monster games, and they had good games, really good games. They combined for 139 yards rushing. Could have been bigger. Could have been a lot bigger. I question why they didn't run the football more, especially against this front. It's just not a very good run front right now. And it's my biggest concern about the Seattle Seahawks right now, is that they're just going to be in 2nd and 4 so often, 2nd and 5. Very few 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9s, which is what you're hoping for when they run the football. Yeah, I don't think this is a very good run front. And I don't think it's a scheme thing. I think it's a personnel thing, particularly at the defensive tackle position. It kind of is what it is at this point. I don't know what you could really do to upgrade. There's probably some folks that are available via trade, but you're kind of stuck with what you have, and you're going to have to really scheme the heck out of it. We'll talk about scheme working out pretty well in a different way in a second, but that's my biggest concern, is that I just don't think this is a great run defense. I know this is not a great interior of the offensive line. I also think Charles Cross played probably his worst game as a Seahawk. I think Charles Cross is a really good player, and PFF thinks that he is a great player. I'm not quite as sold on how good they think he is compared to what my eye test tells me, but he's a good player, but he didn't have a very good game today. And the interior is just, it actually had one of its better games, I think, but not good enough. Not good enough. They're really going to have to address that in the offseason. Because, again, that's an area I don't think you can really improve this year as well, is you're just kind of stuck with what you got. So, linebackers weren't great. I think that's pretty much it for negatives. I think that's pretty much it. I loved the offensive gameplay today. Loved it. And I thought Geno he missed on some throws. I think Geno would be the first to tell you that he didn't play his best game, but played well enough. Certainly played well enough. Much improved over what I think you saw from him against San Francisco. That's for sure. And I know a lot of people gave Metcalf crap about that last interception. And I even said in the comments that it did look like maybe he gave up on that route a little too soon, but still a bad throw. At the very best, it was going to be an incomplete pass. Like, there are some huge Geno Smith fans who just have refused to give him any criticism. And there are people on the other side who refuse to give him any credit whatsoever. I'm just a person. I think Geno Smith has played really well for the overwhelming majority of the season. But last week was bad. And this week there were some off, but mostly good, especially that touchdown throw to end the half. I don't think you can overstate how big that was. Because, kicking a field goal there, going up 13-7, and you outplayed the Falcons in that half, but only up 6 points. There's a big difference between being up 6 points and 10 points. 2-score game. Making it a 2-score game there was massive. And that was a great throw. Held on in the pocket. Nice play by DK as well. Who had 4 receptions for 99 yards before leaving. And yeah. Oh, one other thing I meant to mention in the negatives. Speaking of receivers, man, I want to see Jackson Smith and Jigba more involved in in the deeper path. I want these targets to start getting deeper. Don't know why it was so hard for me to say that. 3 receptions for 9 yards. And look, I get it. He has unbelievable chemistry with Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf is DK Metcalf. Plus, you got to get him the ball in better situations too. I think that'll probably come next year because I don't think all 3 of these receivers will be back. And I don't see how they're getting rid of JSN. It would be selling low. And JSN's had some nice moments this year. I think we all forget how great he was against New England. But I really would like to see more involvement from JSN and more involvement in a more high leverage capacity. I'm just a big believer in his talent. Big believer in that talent. But I think the receivers did play well today. Noah Fant. Man, it's great to see Noah Fant play up to the talent that he showed at Iowa. I was such a big fan of his coming out of that draft, and I thought, he got put into not a great situation with Denver. But there are flashes here that remind you that this guy can play. This guy can play. And, I think he and AJ Barner make up a very strong tight end 1-2 right now. Now, obviously, Barner's strength is more as the run blocker, but did have a catch today. I think the tight end room is something that you feel pretty strong about right now. It's not great. There's no Brock Bowers here. Boy, Brock Bowers, by the way, what a stud that dude is. And those of you who listen to me host on KJR know that my hope was kind of that Brock Bowers would become a Seattle Seahawk. All due respect to Font. I can't talk. He's really good. But it's a solid room. And Tyler Lockett made some big plays. I think that 3rd and 5 connection near the end of the game was really big. And we talked, of course, about Metcalf. Please be okay. Please be okay. Kenneth Walker is awesome. I mean, you look at 14 carries for 69 yards and a tutty. That's good. And you look at 2 receptions for 24 yards and a tutty. Not very involved, but good. I just think it completely undersells how good Kenneth Walker is because he doesn't get the same type of holes that some of these other running backs do, and he makes the most of them. And the thing that impresses me the most about Kenneth Walker, and I know I've mentioned this in other videos, is a lot of other running backs in the scenario that the Seahawks have, where their guards and center are just not up to snuff, are just bursting through that thing and hoping that they can get 2 or 3 yards. But no, Kenneth Walker is still the patient running back that the Seahawks need. And no, he's not Le'Veon Bell, just like dancing around waiting for something to open up. But he waits for that hole. And more often than not, he's able to make something happen, in part because he does such a good job of avoiding that first tackle. Yeah, there are lots of times where Kenneth Walker should have rushes for -3, -2 yards, but he turns them into 1 or 2 yard gains. And yeah, 1 or 2 yard gains. The difference between that and 2nd and 12 is massive, massive. But I love the balance that they had today. And, Zach Charbonnet, a couple of runs at the end, that had nothing to do with the game. And in fact, I think Kenny McIntosh had a carry that they ended up not taking away from him, or at least the announcers said Kenny McIntosh's name while I was getting ready to start work. But I thought Charbonnet ran hard. I'd like to see him more involved in the pass game. I'd like to see both those receivers. I'm asking a lot here. I'd love to see the running backs a little more involved, and also JSN more involved deep. Maybe that's not possible, but I'll still ask for it. This was a good win. The Atlanta Falcons are not nearly as bad as they look today. Now, were they 4-2 good? I don't think so. But they weren't 2-4 bad, and they played like a 2-4, 1-5 team today. You went on the road and you dominated what I think will be a playoff team. So you can't complain too much about that. Not even a little bit. Hopefully some of this video made sense. I'm listening to myself talk and it's all sounded like mumbo jumbo. So hit like anyway. Please hit subscribe. We'll have a bunch more stuff coming up over the next few weeks, not just for the Seahawks, but for the Mariners, for the Kraken. Husky basketball starting up soon. Really appreciate the support. Really good win. Really, really good win. But please be okay, DK Metcalf.